Well, welcome back to WCS Europe Season 2 Premier League round of 16. And as you can see in the background, Welmu's helping himself to a drink from the bar. He is going to get ready for our next matchup fairly shortly. But before we get to that game, let's just check in on the bracket and update you with what we've had so far tonight. Group B has turned out to be just as surprising, if not more so, than Group A last night. As you can see, duckdeok and Welmu are the two players who have moved on to the winners match. The other point here, of course, is that it now means Lucifron takes on Stefano. Two of the very best European players have to go head-to-head to survive, let alone qualify. We'll see that game after this one. But first up, it is the Korean versus the Finn. It's Welmu versus duckdeok. Welmu now earning himself the new mantle, the third person to have such a mantle, of the legend killer, because let's face it, he's killed off Baby Knight, he's killed off Rhett, and of course he's removed Lucifron as well, and that was Baby Knight's title from Season 1. duckdeok, by contrast, of course, having killed off Stefano after getting rid of Demugger. So two of the star players from last season removed by the Korean. Can he remove a Protoss to qualify for the round of 8? We're about to find out with our third match of the evening. It is the winners match. It's with Apollo and Kalaris.
Thanks very much, Paul. Welcome back to the caster's desk here for what is sure to be a very, very explosive PvP. I'm pretty excited for this because Welmu made it look really cool in the round of 32.
Yeah, and he's just come off a big win here against Lucifron. Let's see if that momentum can carry through to potentially push him into the round of 8. But duckdeok is the player that is standing in his way, who also played out a good starting match in his round of 16 group, beating out Stefano 2-0.
And duckdeok will indeed be actually vetoing first here, as
all right, I'm gonna say honesty right now.
Honesty.
Listen. duckdeok probably doesn't even know who Welmu is. He's just some European Protoss.
That's true.
Little does he know that Welmu comes from the country of Finland and has played many PvPs against Elfie.
Uh-oh.
They've practiced together, they've trained together, they've played competitively against each other. Welmu is a hidden talent in PvP, and right now duckdeok has no idea what he's about to walk into.
Yeah, it's funny because Welmu has this like quiet confidence about himself right now. He's like, oh, PvP,
no,
great.
Just look at both of them.
Exactly.
Look, duckdeok's like, yes, I'm a professional gamer. Here is my sponsored T-shirt. I am from Team MVP. I'm from Korea. Ha 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 ha. You will die. And then Welmu's like, yeah, I'm like 16. I'm got a team apparently because I haven't got my team shirt on. I really hope for some good games. I wish you the best of luck. But in reality, he's like, I'm going to kill you.
I mean, that was the most perfect British accent I've ever heard there, Apollo.
Little does duckdeok know what he's about to walk into.
Yeah,
Welmu, full of innocence.
Not at all. PvP is certainly something that the Finns do well at. duckdeok, though, on the other side of things, he's pretty good at PvP as well. So this is going to be a very... Look at him, he's so smiley. Where's he going? He's gone. Anyway.
He just said, David, come here, I've got to tell you something. He doesn't know he's about to play me in PvP.
Snigger.
We'll see if he can actually live up to that, though. And if he can be able to beat out, of course, duckdeok. MVP for now. He's played a massive amount of Protoss versus Protoss games in his past, and as much as we joke about Welmu coming into this as like a giant because his PvP is that good, he is going up against a top player here in WCS.
Yeah, and again, this isn't duckdeok online from Korea struggling with latency and having to compensate for that in weird ways. This is duckdeok offline and looking pretty good in his first series against Stefano, no less, and now going up against Welmu. Again, very, very excited for this PvP. It should be a really good one.
Yeah, the maps Whirlwind, Belshire, and Newkirk. The way the vetoes are going to work for both of these players are preferences to how they like to play, usually a style. Certain styles are better on certain maps, whether it be fast expand on smaller choke, more point maps, and of course more aggressive play on bigger maps. So as we see those three maps, we also see the guy that comes into the WCS Premier League from the round of 32 is somebody that you wouldn't really think would be going super deep until he made it till the round of 16. until he had the opportunity to play live face to face.
And I mean, now coming into Group B here for the round of 16, it's 2 results in the first 2 series that people just generally didn't expect too much of. They expected to see Stefano and Lucifron here in this winners match, but now it's the complete reversal as we have Welmu versus duckdeok for game number 1. See who advances on to the round of 8 here as that third Protoss. And spawning down to the bottom right-hand corner here as our red Protoss representing NRS and Finland. Give it up for Welmu. Spawning down to the bottom left-hand corner as our blue Protoss representing MVP and Korea. Give it up for duckdeok.
Quack. That was so funny at DreamHack. It was so funny, me and In Control. That's a memory I won't forget too easily.
Yeah.
But going into this PvP now, Whirlwind is a map where fast expands are absolutely possible, for sure. Welmu, though, is not that kind of nerd. He doesn't like it. He actually likes to be very aggressive, as mentioned earlier on. Loves a lot of Blink play, a loves a lot of DT play. And one thing that stood out above the rest is his Warp Prism play, more so than anything else, to be able to, you know, drop a DT in, run in, a single hit 2 probes, couple of swipes, come out, pick up, get out again. And he consistently does it all the time. So I am interested to see, you know, how well he is able to play now against duckdeok, who hasn't taken an early gas, but will, by the looks of it, just take 2 gases at once. Or that was a little bit later, though. If he doesn't take a second gas, that, you know, obviously pushes him towards a much mineral focus, and more so towards an expansion focus than not.
Very slightly
surprised. Second gas does come down, but still, it's a little bit stagnant, so it means that he is focusing a little bit more on minerals, more so than gas. Still leans towards potential expansion play from duckdeok.
And I think he does in the end compensate for the fact that there's only 2 in Welmu's each gases, whereas there's actually 3 in the first one from duckdeok, and then probably will throw 3 into the second one as well. So eventually I think it does even out, per se, but with the Simon X cars going down as well at a very, very even time, I think that it's all going to balance in the end.
Do you think that Welmu's going to win this then?
I will give him the edge, but only because I haven't seen too much of duckdeok's PvP as of late. I know his results, I know his win ratios are pretty darn good in the matchup, so it's hard to take that away from him, but I haven't seen the way he's been playing Protoss versus Protoss, and Welmu just in general, going very, very strongly against Baby Knight in the round of 32. It looked great. He was playing Protoss versus Protoss, unlike a lot of people that you normally see in PvP, and it was scary.
Well, we do have here duckdeok, who's decided to throw down completely blindly just to go for this Stargate first. He hasn't scouted, only just now standing out this probe, and will begin the game in that direction, compared to Welmu, who is deciding to open this up with a Nexus down off a single gateway.
And duckdeok, Whirlwind being the map where everyone goes clockwise, but apart from duckdeok, he's like Australia, he goes the other way. And, well, he does end up spotting his opponent first, as does also Welmu, thanks to him scouting clockwise. So both players going to see each other, and duckdeok gets the read on the Nexus.
He sees the Nexus, and this is really good because the standard structure that follows this is the robotics facility. An Oracle should definitely come from this, but does the scouting probe from Welmu see this? And he's going to get in there, and that's actually a big, big scout. If this had not have been spotted, he may have not even had any defense. He's got, what, a couple of sentries now? So upon seeing this being chrono boosted out, he has to start a Stalker. He has to add on anything, additional gateways here. Probably don't even use the robotics facility for the time being.
Yeah. And this is a great position technically for Welmu if he's able to prepare well enough. If he just shuts down this aggression, doesn't lose too many probes, having a Nexus to fall back on behind this is a great spot for him.
But this is going to be like a big 2 base all-in. I mean, 1 base all-in, sorry, from duckdeok, because extra gateways are down, aggressive pylons have been planted. He's going to follow this up afterwards with Phoenixes, can clearly pick up sentries and whatnot and get in there and get their hands dirty.
And that Stalker as well as Oracle already posing a big threat here. The Oracle just actually comes in and focuses down that sentry. This is actually a very cool move by duckdeok to focus down the army initially, forces out the photon overcharge, and the natural can try and go into the main.
And an Immortal has been made here, Welmu feeling the threat of a potential gateway follow-up to this, realizing that, well, he's so far ahead economically, that his opponent kind of has to do something here. So he's reading really well into the game. The Immortal is the unit which will get picked up then if he's going to decide to go for this. Look at that though, the Photon Overcharge forced out so early, that will go down soon. And then he doesn't have enough energy for another one. This becomes a very dangerous position for Welmu to hold on to.
Yeah, you saw the words right out of my mouth here with being able to just neutralize these Immortals with those Phoenix. It's a fantastic use of them, and it's going to limit so much of the firepower that Welmu has here right now. Even trying to throw down that pylon, just as the Photon Overcharge dissipates here from this natural, and the assault does begin. And, well, all he has to do is pick that up and even focus it down if he wants to. But again, the neutralization, he needs to bring the second Phoenix over to neutralize the second one as well.
The Immortal was stuck behind those two Stalkers. It's not getting too much damage done there. If it had moved down much earlier, it would have been a little bit better for Welmu. But the Phoenixes have been pushed back for now. But
yeah.
Without the Mothership core there for Welmu, he's never going to have a Photon Overcharge. This is definitely very difficult to keep hold.
A very, very important force field actually hits there as well, keeping that Immortal back. But unfortunately for duckdeok, the engagement is still occurring at the ramp, so the Immortal can still doing the damage it wants to. Welmu is close to shutting it down.
Oh, he needs to pick off the Immortal. That's the biggest point here if he gets the Immortal.
It's going to be close. I don't think he's going to get it, though. There's too many gateway units here for Welmu. Look at the supply differences. Yeah. Now, being that close, only having these 4 Stalkers out against this, I don't know if duckdeok's going to be able to make this work.
Yeah, now the shields are regenerating on the Immortal. This becomes more and more difficult, and it looks like it may be a hold here for Welmu. And, well, 2 more Zealots get warped in to try to go for it.
He has to kite. He has to kite. He doesn't want those Zealots to connect with these units, and he does get one of them without taking much damage from it. But the Stalkers have actually brought down the Stalker number of Welmu here.
But the shield's going higher and higher. It's at 40 now, and it's going to keep on going unless it's hit again. And if that shield goes all the way back up to 100, this becomes very difficult for duckdeok to ever break that Immortal.
Welmu just continues to chrono boost his gateways here behind this. He actually just starts his second Immortal, third Immortal if you want to call it that, with this as well. He realized that getting an Immortal out, the investment of that was never going to be as quick as just getting gateway units to shut this down. And, well, the probe counts are in favor of duckdeok, but he's far behind in terms of that Nexus. And he starts Void Ray production here to try and keep himself more stable.
This is a very good hold here from Welmu against the aggression from the Korean. And, well, the follow-up from duckdeok is going to be Void Ray production. He's going to try and come for another attack very soon, but he needs to make sure that the Void Ray being built aren't really scouted so easily here. Because Welmu, I think, then very easily throws down maybe the Forge and the Twilight Council at the same time, gets a blink, gets a lot of Stalkers, and I think he can hit a very nice timing before the Void Ray count even gets high. And, of course, if you're spending a lot of money on Void Rays, they're expensive. You're not really building anything else underneath them, especially because his Nexus and economy is so low. So there's definitely an opportunity to Welmu to pick up the game if he wants to spot that information.
And I think that, you know, just going back to that engagement, it's a hard thing in PvP to decide to actually focus down the Phoenix that are actually posing a very, very big threat. But Welmu did it, and he killed those off so quickly that they were no longer part of that engagement any longer, despite having energy to lift things up.
Welmu's taking a guess with the Warp Prism here. He's expecting his opponent to most likely fall back on the robotics facility. It's the normal thing to fall back on to catch up with the Immortal production. So he, in retaliation, is saying, okay, if that's the case, then he won't have air units. He won't be going for Blink or anything to be able to prevent the Warp Prism harass. But in reality, there's 2 Void Rays. There's 2 Void Rays out, and they will they will destroy the Warp Prism and the Immortals if they see it. And then Welmu loses a big chunk of his army.
Yeah, and they're very, very similar in terms of the speed, and the Void Rays kind of move whilst attacking as well. Ooh, he brings the Warp Prism back. Why? A little bit of an interesting position there. Drops it down and wants to keep those Immortals back.
Well, okay, these Immortals are actually just going to warp back home. He wants to warp in units and keep the Immortals back, but if he spots this, it's just 2 free Immortals.
It's so isolated right now. And the second push here for duckdeok is a very, very strong one. And he has to bring them back with the Warp Prism. There's no 2 ways about this. The Mothership Core is going to see it in the end. But, I mean, there's not much you can do with that positioning.
Focus so heavily on Stalkers. He's only got 3 gateways because he built a Forge and a Twilight Council much later than he could have because he built this Warp Prism and focused on other things. Well, another Void Ray's coming in.
Just like in that previous engagement here, well, this Warp Prism was going to die, but...
Imagine if that had 2 Immortals in it, though. That would have been so bad.
Yeah, that would have almost been game-ending there. I mean, duckdeok now, he has a very, very good, diverse army here. Good force fields as well as Time Warp. Those Stalkers going down, this is good focus fire from duckdeok because if he kills off the anti-air, then there's not much really to contest those Void Rays anymore, and he knows that.
Wow, what a follow-up push here from duckdeok. Unfortunately, Welmu just never even saw it coming. Completely caught naked needed here. And with 3 Void Rays like this, there is not enough anti-air, there's not enough units in itself. Welmu had a big lead in this game, but decided against scouting, whether it be Hallucinate Phoenix, Observer, whatever it was.
Wow,
GG. And duckdeok pulls up that game, pulls that win, when it really shouldn't have gone that way, but it did.
I was not expecting that follow-up aggression to hit as hard as that, and clearly neither was Welmu, as duckdeok takes the first game here in this best of 3. He's now 1 game away from advancing on to the round of 8. Once again, showing that offline, he's quite the menace.
Yeah, I mean, you know, he knew what to do from the get-go, or at least had a plan. He, you know, chose to go Stargate, knew that Whirlwind is a map that, you know, just general protesters do like 1-gate expand on, so I liked his choice of build at the start. It's not a bad thing that it didn't work. It was a good thing for Welmu that he stopped it. But then he knew exactly, saying, all right, well, usually when I play my thousands and thousands and thousands of game every month, when it doesn't work, a follow-up that's very strong is, like we saw, 3 Void Rays just follow up and go for another kill. Welmu had no idea, didn't identify what was coming, and as simple as we saw, just got beat.
And you don't see that kind of follow-up too often, and that's something that Welmu probably hasn't played too often because of that. So now going into Belshir Vestige for map number 2, Welmu has to step things up and show us some of that PvP excellence they did in the round of 32.
That's one of the things that this series really shows me is the difference between regions.
Yes,
because
exactly.
in Europe, when Welmu practices, clearly he hasn't had to deal with this kind of follow-up when that attack fails. It very much so seemed like, all right, all the Protest players I play against always go for Robo, or at least have it building and then a Nexus, or Nexus then a Robo. And so he was playing towards that, not to what we saw Finale duckdeok do.
And now we go into game number 2 to determine if duckdeok can advance on, or if Welmu can keep his hopes alive here, as we have spawning up to the top left-hand corner as our red Protoss, representing NRS and Finland. Give it up for Welmu. And down to the bottom right-hand corner as our blue Protoss, 1 win away from advancing on to that round of 8 this coming weekend, representing MVP and Korea. Give it up for duckdeok.
You know, I really do hope that duckdeok can do well. Because of how he'd never really been in Code S and has always been in Code A, I'm sure that the 2 people that know him more than anyone else is Wolf and Caldor, but even then he hadn't been in Code S that too many seasons. I think maybe 4 or 5 seasons over, you know, 2.5, 3 years. That's not a lot, so we rarely do see him. Of course, he's probably played more in the GSTL than anything else for his team MVP, but I think that I've spoke to the players and they say he's very friendly backstage. He doesn't have the best English, but he's trying to speak to them. He's trying to be that guy that can make friends with everyone here, because he is just by himself. Minsik, MC, and MVP, those are the other Koreans, or at least 2 of them here, that are hanging out together. MMA has all of Acer, but duckdeok's just here by himself. So I do like to see that he's trying to make an effort to talk to people and enjoy each other's company. And I think if he was to make it to the round of 8, we'd see a lot more from him with detailed interviews and features and whatnot. And it would be cool to see that, I think.
Yeah, get a little bit more an in-depth look at duckdeok and not just have him be a faceless Korean that, you know, you do have a lot of. And it'd be nice to see a little bit more into who duckdeok is. But it's a good point that you brought up previously with saying that, you know, you saw him a lot in GSTL. He is one of those MVP players that you don't see too much in those individual leagues. You see him in almost every single team league. He played in the IPTL when it was around. He played in ATC. He met Stefano and Lucifon during both of those as well, from these group stages. So that's really where Finale, or duckdeok even, has gained his abilities, as it were. But now here on the solo stage, not doing too badly for himself.
Yeah, not doing too badly for himself at all, and he's, you know, making a name for himself rather than just being the guy that's on the same team as Dongregoo, right?
Yeah.
And you know, hopefully we can see that continue through. And Welmu has decided to go for a second gateway, likewise has his opponent. This is one of the more popular PvP builds out there for a lot of beginning players as well, just to be able to get some control early, to be able to scout out early. But we do see Chrono Boost going into the Cybernetics core here for duckdeok. and I wonder if he's feeling confident like he was when he picked up the first game against Stefano. But if you can see the difference between the two players is that one's chrono boosting the cybernetics core, which rushes out the warp gate research for the gateways, while the other is chrono boosting out the mothership core, more for scouting than anything else here, to try to come down south to try to figure out what's going on. And if we see a continued chrono boost into the cybernetics core, very well easily could see a 3 gateway attack from duckdeok.
Yeah, and Welmu's going to have to acknowledge that he already has a sentry out to play a little bit more of a defensive posture here at the very beginning of this, and as you said before, scouting with that mothership core to make sure that nothing too crazy is going down the left-hand side of the map where general Stargate proxies would end up occurring. So good foresight by Welmu to try and scout that out, but there's already a pylon down.
And the chrono boost was still going into the cybernetics core.
Yeah.
duckdeok's build is very good against any player that likes to try to go for a fast nexus or even tries to go for some kind of tech. And the Stargate has been thrown down though here by duckdeok, so he's going to throw a bit of resources potentially into this and then fall back on the Stargate? Or does he even, well, that's been spotted, but it hasn't been spotted by duckdeok. What is he doing with his resources here? Is he... With a Stargate coming down, of course he needs to save money to build something from that. He can't keep on warping in units. So the 3 gateway, maybe it was more of a safety precaution and potential counterattacks from this. I'm not too sure. Maybe he saw that there wasn't an fast expansion that Welmu was going for.
Well, as the time warp again here to try and slow down these stalkers that he will actually capture once again here. duckdeok is very, very confident about this build that he's been utilizing not only in the game number 1 but also in game number 2. And I think he just probably forces a cancel here. I don't see this going up for Welmu.
So, thinking about it more, I definitely felt that he was expecting maybe a fast expansion again and was trying to, punish it early. 2 hallucinated stalkers here to feint out pressure, or not really pressure, to feint out that he's stronger than he actually is.
Yeah. I don't know if... it looks as if duckdeok's almost falling for it as well.
Like it shows him that he has almost the same unit, so it's like 3 gateways versus 3 gateways here. But when he actually realizes that there are 2 hallucinated units, he definitely tried to fight this. But of course he can't realize, so... It is a very smart play from Welmu, who's trying to rush out to get this Immortal. Do you know what's even better is with behind this Oracle.
Yeah, exactly.
It keeps pressure on the natural.
This is, and he did buy time for the Photon Overcharge as well, so this play by Welmu is extremely effective and clever, but they've gone now.
This definitely feels for Welmu like an expansion, 3-gate into expansion behind it, not expecting the Oracle.
Yeah, that's a bit of an annoyance.
Even time warp on the ramp!
Oh, really delaying any kind of, not only retreat from the probes, but also reinforcement from those stalkers from the natural.
Beautiful play.
Yeah, very, very nice PvP play here by duckdeok. It really is evident why he is such a good, strong player in terms of win ratios in this matchup right now in Heart of the Swarm.
But still, Nexus down much faster for Welmu. Double chrono boost there. He's able to replenish what he's lost. It's 22 to 27, but if he's able to equalize that before the Nexus is done, then it's still okay for Welmu. That wasn't too many workers killed by that Oracle, but granted the Oracle isn't dead yet.
Yeah, it would be easy for Welmu to overreact and say, you've done damage, grr, but he just needs to stabilize himself and realize that this game is still pretty darn even.
Yeah, pretty even, if not a little bit still in favor of Welmu. The damage really wasn't dealt that much with the Oracle. Thought we could have seen some more, but he only managed to get 5. Usually we see Oracles go even into double digits when not scouted like that. But 5's not a bad insult there.
It's still important to emphasize, though, that if those hallucinated stalkers weren't there, with duckdeok's stalker count that he had, he may have just said, well, actually, you've only got 4 stalkers as well as 3 sentries. That's really not that much.
Yeah.
So, very clever.
Void Ray's coming out, and it was spotted, too. So he immediately goes over to the Forge, should be +1, and Twilight Council 4 Blink, which is kind of the best setup of tools to deal with a mix of Void Rays and ground units.
Yeah, the Oracle's trying to come in again, but Photon Overcharge just push that away. Oh, he even gets the kill as well. I always like it when Oracles die. Green little fireworks flying all over the place. And the Hallucinated Phoenix trying to get out some scouting information as well.
Oh, mind games going on there, actually. The Hallucinated Phoenix saw the Stargate not building anything. He cancelled it, showed the Stargate not building anything there because he was building it before, and then built it again.
Uh-oh. Hello. Welmu going for what is something a bit more common to him than anything else. Dark Shrine going down. And duckdeok for now, he actually doesn't have an observe round just yet, which may come back to hinder him.
Welmu's really trying to figure out what exactly his opponent's doing. Is he going for another 2-base attack? What army composition? Welmu was so surprised in game 1, he doesn't want to have that happen again. He sees no gases on the natural, sees Stalkers and Immortal, no Void Rays still. But without the gases being taken on the natural competitor Welmu automatically is the defensive player here, automatically. So what I think he should try to do is squeeze out a probe now. If he was able to squeeze out a probe to build a pylon around the map to warp in DTs aggressively while defending with some as well, that's like the best thing in the world for him at this point. But he hasn't really managed to do that. Okay, now he's doing it. Yes.
Yes.
Because if Welmu's able to do that, this series will be tied up. But he also needs to think about the defense too. But as you said, there's no observer, right? So with no observer, the DTs will be able to hold on and buy time.
Yeah.
Whoa!
Oh, Force Fields will catch a few of those Stalkers. Not too bad, just moves back and retreats, realizes that the Void Rays are there now as well, and keeps that observer over his opponent's army. So not only is it going to help when the DTs come out, but also he can't see the observer that's keeping an eye on him.
Look at these DTs just going to chase the army back, and he has to build an observer. This is going to buy so much time here for Welmu, who should be getting a pylon down on the other side of the map, who should be warping them in. If only that was down just a little bit sharper, a little bit faster here, I think he could have done a lot in this game. But imagine on the other hand if Welmu had encountered an army which had an observer with it.
That would have been a bit of an annoyance, but he actually goes for the Archon as well there, warping one of those in that defensive posture, realizing that those Void Rays are indeed an extremely large threat once that push would come here from duckdeok. But he's, as you said, he bought so much time with these Dark Templars, even getting this in late, still bought great amounts of time. And Welmu, I mean, army supply right now, 47 to 53, so really kind of ramped it up a bit.
And he got the Forge and his opponent didn't, remember, because Welmu was not trying to be all in, which his opponent was, and he is going to lose a Void Ray in the middle of the map too. So there's the +1 attack, there's actually +2 on the way with Zealot charge here. Welmu's in pretty good position from defending against the pressure against his Nexus early to defending against a player that threw a lot of resources into a 2-base attack, which got pushed back from here.
Cool. And that Hallucinate Phoenix did see that Warp Prism now moving out here, which is what Welmu has been resorting to. I mean, it was this map specifically where he was so strong against Baby Knight in the round of 32. So if Welmu can gather that momentum that he needs here in the second game even, he has the potential to tie it up. But we'll see now if duckdeok can transition onto the later game with second Robo facility. So double Colossus production. Welmu may identify this and may try to go over to Starport as well as Tempest, but it's a very difficult transition to make work when duckdeok could just move across if he sees it.
Yeah, the second robotics facility has been scouted here, so Welmu realizes his opponent is trying to tech up quite a lot with that. It is a lot of resources to build 2 Colossus at a single time. And Welmu right now is going to kind of do 2 things at once. This is what made me so impressed by his PvP in the earlier stages in the round of 32. Is it, well, that's, oh, he got lucky there that Archon just about crushed that force field. But he needs not to do this, and then also at the same time warping DTs in the main base, or DT Zealots, whatever it is.
Yeah, it doesn't. There you go. It's going to be 2 Dark Templar here. And how much detection is there in the main? It doesn't look like there's anything right now. Photon Overcharge goes down, but I mean,
no observer,
Yeah, he doesn't really have anything to deal with that. He's warping in some Zealots as well to try and go for that aggression. He could actually just try and focus down the Nexus if he wanted to, but it's a little bit late now.
Yeah, it's a lot of hit points there. These units with +2 attack doing a lot here.
Oh, is that Colossus going to die? No.
Well, it will if it hadn't moved, that's for sure. But meanwhile, +3 attack on the way as well.
That's
very strong army.
Wait a minute, what are the upgrades like for duckdeok? He has no upgrades.
Oh, he's got none. He got the Forge, but he got nothing. He's really feeling the pressure here.
And speaking of pressure, well, that one Colossus is under a lot of it here, as it does get caught out in a bit of a bad position. That one Archon finishes off as well. Welmu is pushing him back. He's in a great position here just to crush duckdeok's force.
Yeah, I mean, right before the double Colossus was really going at perfect timing, +2 attack versus nothing. Warp Prism comes from harassment into actually helping the army out. This has actually been a really good game from Welmu.
GG. Game number 2 ties up the series here for Welmu. And now moving on to game number 3. It all comes down to this for these Protoss players. 2 players that people didn't necessarily expect to be in this position right now have the opportunity to move on to the round of 8, where the money starts ramping up quite nicely.
Welmu is really showing some fantastic StarCraft today. In that third game against Lucifron, where he built the 3 observers in a line to prevent the scout or the drops coming in and whatnot, and really knew everything down to the wire. I think game 1 could have gone differently if he had a bit more experience against how duckdeok and maybe Korean Protoss players play. But that game there, I actually feel that game, probably out of all the games we've seen today, was the strongest and most, for me, entertaining game there was, because of how well that Welmu was able to play.
And now going on to game number 3 here. Newkirk Precinct is our map, as Welmu looks to move on. If he can claim a stake in the round of 8, he reaffirms that position right now as arguably Finland's strongest player here. I mean, he's already in very, very strong contention for that. And
I think if he moved to the round of 8, I would say that there's no question he's the strongest Finnish player at the moment. Even though losing the PvP against Elfie just a few days ago, that doesn't matter. It's PvP, they're friends, they know each other very well. Yeah. But this is a big result for him, more so than anything he's ever had in the past. He's never really been a player that has even been to a round of 8, like in a big tournament. I know he's done well in some Aces tournaments. I think the one at the start of the year, which was only Finnish players, which he was able to win, and probably won a couple of only Finnish tournaments, but this is the WCS Europe Premier League, and he's about 1 game away to being top 8.
I mean, you compare, for a metric of comparison here, you compare Welmu's winnings against Stefanos and Lucifron's. Welmu has 6,800 winnings across his entire StarCraft 2 career. Then you have Lucifron, 54,000. Then you have Stefano, 234,000. Big numbers that Welmu is standing up to right now and looking to try and upset. As we go into game number 3, spawning down to the bottom right-hand corner is that man himself. So representing Finland and Neurosoft. Give it up for Welmu. Spawn down to the bottom left-hand corner as our blue Protoss needs to chase things back a bit here in game number 3 after going down in game number 2, representing Korea and MVP. Give it up for duckdeok.
And do while this game kicks off, do take some time to go over to Twitter, whether it be you sit on your laptop computer or if you have the phone, whatever you're using to do it. Do make sure to go over and hashtag WCS. Join the conversation. There's a lot of people in there right now. I mean, we've got the likes of Ro16, the WCS America caster that's watching the games right now. So thank you for tweeting into hashtag WCS. Thanks for watching, my friend. And then you've got pro players as well, like Baby Knight, who actually lost versus Welmu. Don't remind him. No. But you know, it's awesome to see everyone tweeting like that. So thanks, guys.
Yeah, it certainly is. Well, Baby Knight actually watches a lot of these shows.
He watched yesterday too.
Hi, Baby Knight. We love you. He's a nice guy. And well, we'll see now if Welmu is able to carry the torch here for Protoss and Welmu. As, well, duckdeok, he's certainly showing a very cool style himself. I really do like the Void Ray incorporation with that follow-up assault. Yeah. But Welmu adapted well from game number 1 to game number 2.
And I think that big adaptation was the amount of hallucinated Phoenix and the sentry energy that he spent. There was so many of them. Scouting out all the different possibilities his opponent could go for, seeing the doubles robotics facility, which is actually the end key, which enabled him to go for that push right in there, right in the middle, before the Colossus count even got, I think it was like 1 or 2, and off double robotics facility, that's not a lot because it wasn't really kicked in yet. And Welmu really displaying some excellence, and I love that adaptation though. Just if you compare the reason he lost game 1 is because he had no idea what was coming to what he did in game 2, where he saw everything and then was able to win. That's a really strong play.
And translating into game number 3 now, does he just do the same? Does he just try to strive for that information and then shut his opponent down with that knowledge? It's a very impressive way to play. And duckdeok, meanwhile, does he deviate things up? Does he go for something a little bit different? Right now, he does have no second guy. He does have the second gateway on the way here. So it looks like it's going to be that heavier Stalker focus to begin with. Does he go for the aggression? I think with this probe moving out and to throw a pylon down maybe might happen.
We'll see. I mean, if he throws down a pylon now, it's a long way until Warp Gate's ready. He might just try to poke in first and then maybe go out and try and do it after, but it is a balance that he has to deal with.
Yeah, Mr. Baby Knight indeed, tweeting us. Good to see I'm not the only one falling to Welmu's mid to late game PvP. It's a strong one. Baby Knight is renowned as one of the strongest PvPs in Europe. But Welmu looking very good right now. As duckdeok, he's going to have to contend with that. And interestingly enough, Welmu is also getting out a similar amount of Stalkers to his opponent. Just one behind, obviously, because he did dedicate to that more defensive sentry that can accrue that energy. And look where the duckdeok probe currently is.
Yeah, it's right in the natural, checking for an expansion play or not. So he's like saying, I'm not going to commit to anything now, warping units if you're not expanding, like he did last game. So even he's adapting a little bit more to his opponent. But both players very similar in their kind of setup. They're 3 gateways. Unit compositions are a little bit more different, as we see Welmu focusing very heavily on sentries, which means he will try to expand soon. And he has found that probe, but he didn't find it. It wasn't on attack move, it was on move command, which is a little bit sloppy.
Yep.
Definitely should be on attack move there.
This is the eternal battle, Mothership Core versus Mothership Core. Who wins? The answer is no one for now. And, well, this probe, he still pokes up and he got confirmation of that Nexus. So
oh my god, he just made a Colossus.
Wait, what? Oh, what the? What is going on?
He's like, oh, rats. I think that meant to be a hallucinated Phoenix.
Maybe.
I'm quite sure, actually. It's... and I think that it's the X and C, that's right, the X and C button for Colossus.
Oh yeah,
and,
that's so close.
So when you want to make a hallucinate Phoenix, it's X and the Colossus is C, so I'm pretty sure he just misclicked. That's a little bit unfortunate.
Very nice time warp, almost gets the Stalker there. He has to micro that Stalker back, otherwise that Mothership Core could take it, but at the same time he would have lost the Mothership Core as well, so doesn't want to be too sloppy about his control here. Should get the cancellation on the Nexus by the looks of things. A different story to game number 2.
Very different here, and Welmu's back in his main base. There's the Stargate down, which is building Phoenixes here. Instead of the Oracle, he's saying, all right, you know what happened in game 2? I did not do enough damage with that Oracle. Do you know what I'm going to do in game 3 is I'm going to build Phoenixes, and I'm going to make sure that I can pick up these units, or the units that you have importantly, and oh no, a Warp Prism's coming in. If that runs into the Phoenix,
and
or Phoenixes.
And there's one path on this map that is very, very heavily patrolled by air defenses as well as air aggression, which is that one down the south.
Wait, he actually cancelled the Phoenix. He was like, all right, I'm actually just going to expand here, and then decided to build a Void Ray. Void Ray is still going to beat the Warp Prism down, but he didn't want to dedicate to trying to go for the bust. He's like, I'm just going to expand here. It's too risky to try and break my opponent down. I will go ahead and play the game longer.
The Warp Prism is now moving out here. The Hallucinated Phoenix kind of has a look around and pretty much kind of clears out the way, as well as gathers the intel to see if this is going to be worth it or not. But, I mean, he just has to go for it anyway, right? With the soft container, knowing that there's a natural down for his opponent, it's tough.
He's got to be careful with this Warp Prism, because it will die very fast. It's been spotted early as well. The Warp Prism is spotted, but he spotted the Void Rays. They're in the mineral line. Doug's saying, right, this guy's kind of on one base. It's kind of funny. It's really funny. I'm on 2.
Snarf.
You can only come in via Warp Prism, so, or, you know, anything crazy. So he's left units inside his main base, which is kind of smart. Welmu's checking to see if they're still there. Are they? Yes.
Yes, they are.
So he's not going in there anytime soon.
Unfortunately for duckdeok, he does end up losing a pylon next to that natural of Welmu, because the soft contain now has to subside and go away. He may lose a second pylon as well. An annoyance for duckdeok, but with his Nexus timing at the position that it is, he's more than happy to do so. Welmu with pretty fast Colossus in this game. Don't see them as fast as this normally in PvP nowadays.
Yeah, and I think that he realizes he's a little bit behind, and he may try to go for a 2-base attack of his own, and duckdeok very smartly sees the robotic space, sees the Twilight Council down too. I think that Welmu in this game is feeling the pressure a little bit. He is playing from behind here, and very smartly. And actually, as I say that, it gets scouted? I was going to say very smartly as on a second Stargate, saying that, dude, you're actually just going to go Colossus really early in this game. I can just continue to build up Void Rays. You may not have enough to actually deal with anything here, and Thermal Lance gets cancelled, and so does the Colossus. So both players really picking up intel and really switching up their strategies here. And what we're going to see from Welmu is probably just a more focus around similar playstyle last game. No Colossus, DTs, Archons, a mix of units here.
What a weird one. I mean, in a battle where you have a lot of scouting intel with Hallucinated Phoenix, so mobile, so relatively cheap in terms of how much they cost, when you pretty much have perfect information about each other, some weird things can happen.
Yeah, you keep reacting to your opponent all the time. And Welmu's going to come in and try to scout again, as he does make his way forwards, as duckdeok also has quite a strong army. Welmu pokes in, sees this double Stargate still, and will check down the natural, but this is going to be an attack that he's going to have to try and hold on to. But because he went over to Colossus Robotics Facility and Robotics Bay and tried to get Colossus, he didn't start doing what he needed to do fast enough here. So it's like a timing now that duckdeok can hit because of the way that Welmu's trying to react. And now he scouts it, and I think that he may not, I think this may end, you know, kind of anticlimactic the way that this series has gone, unfortunately. I'm not sure he can do this.
He may not last the night here, as well, those 3 Void Rays provide a lot of firepower. I mean, he may even just lose hallucinate some units again and hope for the best.
Well, if he can get to DTs, again, he may be able to buy himself some time. The Dark Shrine about to finish. There's no observer in here, and it's only just now been spotted right there. So DTs are going to be the savior of Welmu. He's going to be able to warp in aggressively, super fast this time, but there is an observer already in position. That's the one observer that's in this game, so not as good as Welmu would hope for here.
Oh, good positioning with that Stalker as well to block, then move up that ramp, and even the Naturals Dark Templar doesn't do too much either. He needs one defensively here to actually push this back. There's still only one observer out for duckdeok, so it's over the other side of the map, and it's trying to get there, I believe.
But there's no Archons in this army, and Archons are the key in actually defending against these Void Rays, because the Void Rays, once charged up, will destroy absolutely everything that's there. So he needs to focus, yes, on DTs, but he needs gas to build Archons too. So he really can't do both. It's one or the other. Does he use straight up DTs, but what happens if there's an observer there? So he has to eliminate that and just go straight for Archons, which means he doesn't have that high beat DPS unit, that element of surprise anymore.
But it seems that Welmu has been able to deter him with the threat, at least, of a Dark Templar being there without the observer. So now Welmu buys himself a little bit of time, which isn't too bad from all, and the Void Rays are on the way to try and hunt down that Warp Prism.
Yeah, I really feel the Warp Prism is the thing that brought duckdeok back, saying that I don't want to let this get in my base with a bunch of Zealots and DTs and stuff. That's too risky. I'm in the lead in this game. I don't want to mess up, and he comes searching for the Warp Prism and does find it, or misses it, and he did see it, but Welmu does escape. Meanwhile, I mean, if we look at Welmu, who's definitely still playing this game from behind, but he's really low in probes. He's stopped probe production. It seems like he's just going to go for a timing. It seemed to be his game plan from the majority of this game, playing from behind because of the way that the openings happened. He's got +2 on the way now, and he crunibushes that and starts probe production again.
I do like that duckdeok, though, has not neglected his upgrades this game. That was one of the big factors in the previous game that did hurt him a lot. +3 against 0? That's a big difference there. But duckdeok has a great supply advantage in this game. 81 army supply to 58 right now, as Welmu tries to ramp that up a bit more.
And well, we're going to see a third base from duckdeok, and also a high Colossus count rising soon, because he has a second robotics facility. So he's going to try and make his army really strong. Welmu's on search of that Nexus, actually, because he will want to do his own soon. Sees the probe. That's good enough to know that the Nexus is on its way.
Yeah.
You don't just send a probe out there randomly. So he throws down his own in return here.
That's actually, I mean, duckdeok's army is pretty menacing right now.
It's so scary.
Yeah, there's just no way that Welmu can actually defeat that in a straight-up engagement. So he's going to have to dance around, skirt around whilst this third base goes down if duckdeok wants to move into the middle of the map, because duckdeok is going to be moving into the middle of the map far quicker than Welmu would want him to be. So how does he buy the time eventually?
He needs I don't even think he can buy the time, because I think that, well, duckdeok actually... He's at a very high probe count. He actually needs to be taken third, but it's not like I think duckdeok's going to attack, even though he probably could. His plan is to expand, so I don't think it's a measurement of time here for Welmu, because duckdeok can sit back. I think it's a measurement of army and composition. He needs the best setup to take the best potential fight. He needs the best army composition, which entails a lot of scouting information to figure out what his opponent has and what he needs to build.
His poor 2 Zealots, twins, unfortunately not going to be destined for this world for pretty much longer. So bye-bye number 2. You are gone to the Twin Stalkers, and they're pretty happy and content with their result. And duckdeok here with the Templar Archives on the way as well, starting to mix in Archons with this army. I mean, he's already got great firepower in it.
That's the only thing he's missing, really, is Archons, which Welmu has. Welmu's army, I think, at the moment is better. It's not bigger. It's better quality, but it's not bigger. That's kind of the big point here. And that kind of helps. That kind of brings down that quantity size.
The Archons are kind of stuck in a bit of an odd position here for Welmu, though. He needs to separate. He needs to position this army a little bit better if this engagement's to happen. Welmu does have +2 weapons. On Colossus, that's a big deal in comparison to the +1. Also starts +3 behind this. +2 is rapidly approaching for duckdeok, but the Archons are now in a bit of a position here for Welmu. They will move on forwards. He's warping in units as well.
Oh, we should have targeted down that pylon on the right-hand side there. No reinforcements would have come in here, and I think this may be possible for Welmu.
It certainly might be. Those Archons actually doing a lot of damage to these very clumped up units here for duckdeok, and the supply counts evening up very nicely. Welmu with a fantastic engagement. duckdeok allowing him to get that. Great for Welmu.
Wow, this is excellent. And now with Zealot Charge, you chase down everything. And we saw the supply, we saw the difference. If you look at the units lost tab, it just tells the complete story of the game. Look at how many resources were just thrown away there in that fight. 2 Colossus come from the left-hand side, which did absolutely nothing. +2 attack was never done for duckdeok when it was done for Welmu. And now we have 66 to 26. there was almost, it wasn't kind of reversed, but it was much, much heavily more favored for duckdeok. And now they're on 3 bases. Welmu is set up nicely. This
total reversal.
This is just completely reversed.
A total reversal
From the
here.
get-go, duckdeok was in the lead.
Exactly.
From the very, very beginning, and now
then
it's changed.
At the click of a finger, with Welmu being far better positioned than duckdeok, he was so clumped up. Those Archons alone were doing massive amounts of damage in that engagement, as well as tanking some, and even, as you said, that pylon there, with the Zealots warping in that position. duckdeok's Colossi were not doing the damage in the right positions that they wanted to in that engagement. Look at the supplies.
Yeah, I mean, having Archons compared to no Archons, the Void Rays become useless to a certain extent, because in an attack move situation, you're focused on time up, you're focused on reinforcements, you're focused on the position. You don't have time to manually target the Void Rays on Stalkers, and especially because they target so fast and will kill them so fast. They were targeting down Archons and they just don't do that much damage. So it's 6 Void Rays, a lot of army supply, which isn't that strong. And now we have Welmu, 173 supply compared to 129. He's coming actually for the counterattack after what a disastrous fight for duckdeok. There's the pylon. And Welmu very may well be going into the round of 8 in seconds' time. A proxy Nexus comes in because he knows how much trouble he's in.
Absolute desperation here from duckdeok. Welmu now. The reversal has happened in favor of Welmu. I don't think it's going to happen for duckdeok, though. He has to have an absolute miracle engagement here for this to work out. It's 6 Colossi right now against 3 Colossi. There are 4 Void Rays here for duckdeok, but look at those Archons that are also there as well. A great concave here for duckdeok, though, but I don't know if he's actually going to be able to make this work out. Good charge up with the Void Rays, actually focusing down these Colossi, but there's just not enough here. Welmu with 109 army supply to 16, shreds him up. GG. Welmu moves on to the round of 8. Who would believe it? Taking first place in his round of 32 group, taking first place in his round of 16 group.
Nobody said that he would be in the round of 8, I don't think, out of all the players here. And Welmu just shows his excellence in PvP, even after just, you know, losing the first game. Now jumps off stage, incredibly happy, and finale, duckdeok, should I say, is going to play in the final match. But wowzers. Welmu is over the moon. He is so happy right now. I can see him over there. Here are the final moments. And just watch his expression. It really is a delight to see the happiness of these players making their way through into the round of 8.
And this is exactly what happens here. There you go. Welmu so happy, but this is WCS EU to a T. This is what it allows. It allows you to prove yourself. Welmu is a player that at the very beginning of Season 1 tried his hardest through all of the Premier qualifiers, did not quite grasp it in the very end, had to come through Challenger all the way up through it. So he is a prime example of what you can do when you set your mind to it.
Well, congratulations to Welmu. He makes his way through to the round of 8, and I would love, and I know you do as well, to hear some thoughts from Welmu, so take it away, Red Eye.
Thank you very much with Welmu, who is, as you said, jumping for joy right now. We had tears of joy yesterday. We've got jumping for joy today. Congratulations. Fantastic game again. I don't know. I'm running out of superlatives for you. Where did you come from? Where have you been all this time, Welmu?
Well, I just came from Finland to play some StarCraft, and yeah, it went well.
It went very well. Let's go back and talk about the stream. What is it about you that means you have to lose the first map to get angry or something?
Yeah, I don't know, like, both first games felt like, oh man, I'm playing so terrible, but maybe it's like, I realized after first game, oh, I have to win some games too, and then I win.
Yeah. So that first game, the first engagement was good. You had a nice hold. It was pretty decent. Did you expect him to come back so quickly with the aggression?
No, definitely not. Like, almost no one goes for like something like that. Usually it's just macro follow-up, and I was like, it was very bad decision from me. Like, I just assumed he's going for macro, which is really stupid, but my brain wasn't working, and yeah, I played way too greedy, and he punished it for it, but that woke me up, so.
Yeah, your brain was definitely working in map 2. That made it 1-1. And then let's talk about map 3, because I have a little confession to make. My PvP's not very good, right? Even my Terran's not very good right now. But I get like an inkling. I think many fans of StarCraft get an inkling. They watch a game and they go, it's GG. It's GG. I went backstage to grab my jacket. I put my jacket on to come out here, and I'm like, hey, wait a minute, maybe this isn't GG. How on earth did you come back from what looked like a dead game in Game 3?
Well, like now I was a little bit behind, so if he had played like very well rest of the game, I know I would lose. But it wasn't like I was lost. Like I was just a little bit behind. And PvP, like if you get to the like mid-late game, it's just about army composition and position. So I was still confident that I could win if I just played well and I made good choices. And like he was too afraid to take third base, which was the key point. That.
Yeah, I mean, you mentioned positioning. For me, the positioning that you had in that final engagement was terrific. Just absolutely brilliant, perfect.
Yeah, it went pretty well. Like Archons got to hit Void Race, which is ideal, and Void Race Colossi were in good position. And yeah, my position was good. I think like game 3 I got like something like Elfie mode at me. Like I just somehow win the game.
Engaged Elfie mode. I like that. Okay, congratulations. You're through to the round of 8. You're in the quarterfinals of the Premier League. For me, this is what WCS is all about. You can come along, you can climb the ladder, you can become Grandmaster, you can go through qualifiers, you can play in the challenges, and you can get into Premier League, and you've done all of that.
Yeah, I guess so.
You guess so right. Welmu is your winner. He is the man that moves on as our third Protoss in the round of 8 already. Incredible. Apollo is going to break it all down for us.
Thank you, Red Eye. And I don't think there's too much to look at this game. Welmu said it best, that it comes down to, at this point of the game, if he was to play parallel with his opponent, both do the same thing, there's no really hope he can actually win it because he's playing from too far behind. And if, like he said, if his opponent plays it out well, then it's almost impossible for him to win if he does the same thing. So he needed to focus on building a good army and making sure that his fight, whenever it happened, whether it be him taking the fight or his opponent taking the fight, he got the best out of it. So we're just going to have a quick look at that fight before we head it over again. And I mean, first of all, that's a good start. Being able to pick off 3 to 4 Stalkers for free by just a couple of force fields. So that was a nice start. And now we see the army movement coming up. And then if we just slow it down a little bit here and really focus on the movement of both armies. Look at this right now. So we see, if we pause it for a second, to the southwest, there's 2 Colossus, I think, that are coming in somewhere. These guys are way, way late to the party. They should have been there because they offer a lot of damage. They may not have the best upgrades like Welmu's army, but they're still going to offer a lot to the fight. So they were kind of missing. But if you look at this army and how kind of clumped it is, and then if we look at what Welmu does from this position, so let's take a fight, have a look at how this fight is taken. Photon overcharge is kind of there if units do come too forward, and I think a couple of shots go down, but pause it again now. The big difference between the 2 armies is, first of all, the Archons at the front. 1, 2, 3, 4, 2 right there, and then 2 down to the bottom right. These Archons are offering a lot. They tank a lot of damage from the army. The Void Rays are targeting down Archons, and they don't do that very fast either. And then the reinforcements on this pylon on the right-hand side is so big for Welmu. If that pylon, I think it's in super low red health, and if one click on that, all these get cancelled, and I think that helps out duckdeok quite a lot. But from this position, with those 2 Colossus that are out of the way, and then this in a major clumped up area for duckdeok, and everything shooting really well here for Welmu, and we play this fight on out, he just gets a better position with his Zealots, the Archons get in there, the Time Warp on the army as well, slowing everything at the front wall. And then look, 4 Colossus at the back, the front row is already destroyed for duckdeok, and the Colossus are left naked with no protection. 2 Colossus don't do anything on this left-hand side, and Welmu's main strength, main damage output, the big Colossus at the back, are able to stay alive. And this was the major turning point of the game, where we're able to see Welmu turn around the game that didn't look like it was going to be his. So congratulations on that fight. It was a good fight to take, and that was able to push him into the round of 8. So, Red Eye, take it away.
Thanks very much, Apollo. Again, picks out the perfect moment where the game was ended by Welmu. Fantastic play from the Finn. Congrats, Suomi. They have a Finn in the round of 8. Don't forget, you can interact with us via social media. We're still checking your tweets out. The Hubner's busy upstairs, clicking away the fingers, micro-like. If you believe that, you'll believe anything. You can, of course, get in touch with us at twitter.com/StarCraft and on Facebook.com/StarCraft on there. And make sure you mention #WCS as the hashtag, and you might even get your tweet featured on screen. If that game was amazing, the next one is going to be epic. One of these 2 go home. It's either Lucifron or Stefano. I can't even believe I'm saying the words. We'll be back very shortly.